Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm TJ O'Connor. With me, as always, Damian the Wolverine Hill. I'm joined today live from my living room by Timmy the Triceratops. Trash Talk is brought to you by the sponsor of the show, Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrinks Tattoo, Origin Wellness CBD, the Striking Institute, Spartan Martial Arts, James Clark, Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, The Fighters, and my kid's grandma. How you doing today?
A whole lot better than you, TJ.
I disagree, because you're not on my couch with Timmy the Triceratops.
Fuck you. But that is a valid point. But I guess let's just jump right into it. What we're here to do tonight is to answer a fan question. And the fan question being, and I was able to go a little bit more in depth what the question was about, and I'll explain a little bit too. But where does a fighter's loyalty lie? Is it with the facility and the gym specifically, or is it with the coaches at the gym? Is it with the teammates at the gym? All of those things. I mean, all of those things play a factor in what you are loyal to. And kind of getting more specifically into where the conversation ended up, let's say TJ is the head coach at Gym X, and I've been training at Gym X my entire career. But at Gym X, TJ has been my head coach the entire time. There's another owner who also is a coach, but our relationship isn't as strong as mine and TJ's. TJ announces that he's opening up his own gym. Now, do I leave Gym X to go work with TJ? You know, and am I being disloyal to Gym X, or am I just being loyal to my coach? And I guess that's another aspect of it too. When a coach is coaching at a gym and they have the ambitions of opening up their own gym in the future anyway. And a lot of the owners of these gyms understand that a lot of these coaches are looking for a job, and then they're looking to work for themselves, eventually opening up their own gym. But it's so complicated, and the conversation could go on all day, I felt like, but I told the person asking the question that me and you would just talk about it on camera and just let them know what we think. I mean, and it's crazy because when I'm working with a coach for, let's say, 10 years, let's just put a number on it, 10 years working with the same coach, developing personal relationships, fighting relationships, studying film, studying tape, them studying me, helping break down my fights, what makes me better, and then obviously just the connection of work. Like, I trust my coach now. When they tell me to throw a right hand, I'm going to throw the right hand. All of those, and that's something that you need to be comfortable with when you're going into a fight where you could potentially die or risk serious injury. Now, I've been developing that relationship for 10 years with the same coach, and I want you to go a little bit more into detail about it after I'm done, but you refer to it as a recipe. And and this is off camera while we were talking, but a recipe, as you know, has ingredients. And once you take out one of those ingredients, you're not going to end up with the same finished product if you take something out. So if that coach leaves and I stay, am I going to be the same fighter? Or if I leave and go with that coach and I don't keep the training partners that are still at that facility, or even the equipment that facility presents, am I going to be the same fighter? And that's where I guess that's a little bit, that's kind of a different concept on the same answer on where your loyalty should lie, because if it's going to screw you over as a fighter, do you want to still be loyal to an anchor? I guess I would put it. And I've been rambling a lot. I feel like I said a lot, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, just piggybacking what you just said right there. You can definitely be loyal to a fault. I mean, there gets to be a point in time where if a ship is sinking, it's in your best interest to get on the nearest lifeboat and, paddle to the next shoreline, because that's what's best. And when you first brought this question up to me, I thought this was great. I feel like, with all the respect to every fan question we've got, I feel like this was by far the deepest question. The way our scheduling worked out, I had a whole day to think about this. And I tried to put myself in those shoes. And I mean, I think a lot of times, especially from an outside perspective, you think of a gym and a coach being synonymous. They're one and the same. Like when you think of Jackson Winklejohn, you think Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn. That's the thing. But the fact is, truth be told, especially at a gym that size, there's 10, 15, 20 coaches. There's a lot of guys there, and who are you working with on a day-to-day basis? Who's teaching you? Who's bettering your career? So I think it's a harsh truth, and this could be a little controversy for some people. I'd like to hear others' opinion, but I think it does come down to, if you had to be loyal to the gym or to the coach, I think a lot of times you're going to be loyal to your coach, because when you're coming up in a small gym, your gym and the coach, they might be the same thing. It's a single person who owns a gym. He's teaching there. That's one and the same. But when you get to a point where you're at one of these mega gyms, one of these Walmart gyms where there's hundreds of guys and 20 coaches, I mean, you're going to gravitate towards who you're spending your day with. I mean, I just used the example, and I know you had something to say, so I don't want to keep rambling, but use the example. Think back on, fifth grade. You remember your fifth grade teacher, but you don't really remember the principal of the school. I mean, at the time, they were a very important person. That your teacher, has to answer to them, and that they provide their curriculum to them, and that's how things work. But you remember your teacher because your teacher was the one there day in, day out, providing impacts and life lessons.
I really like how you wrap that up with the principal and teacher analogy, just because, I mean, it makes so much sense. And I feel like that's exactly what it is. I mean, I'm definitely going to have a closer relationship with somebody that I see and talk to every single day. I'm going to have a level of respect for the principal. I understand you're the principal of the school. You're the one that's going to suspend me or not allow me to come here and things like that, and I totally get it. I really like that you said that. But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
No, and going back into what you mentioned, what we were talking about off camera, the recipe, that's what a high-level gym is. There's so much stuff that goes into it. Where is it located? Is it located by a hotbed of fighters? What are the coaches like? What are the personalities? What are the fighters? There's so much that goes into a positive environment, and everybody knows it takes one toxic thing to really bring that environment down. So when there's a change, whether it be positive or negative, there's an adjustment period where guys have to kind of figure that out to see if it's going to work, and sometimes it's not always the best fit. So you mentioned if I'm working with you day in, day out, just because you use me as an example, and you leave the gym, not only them am I losing my main training partner, I'm losing my main person I'm working with, the person that's teaching me to go. I may lose what I'm getting here, but is that really what it was? Because you might lose the 30% of your game you weren't focused on, but if the 70% of your game that you're doing daily is going to alter, that's a much bigger change.
Okay, you just brought something up that raised a question in my mind. Let's say I'm not as loyal to the coach that you are loyal to, but I have a good rapport with them. We work really good together, and I love everything that they show and teach. But I understand that you specifically make me a better training partner and a better fighter, and there might not be anybody else at the gym that can do that for me. And you decide to follow that coach to the other gym. Do I follow you too? If I'm asking the question, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it too. But I'm like, I would. And that's not a diss at the facility or the other coaches at the facility or the other training partners either. How many fighters have said it, that you got to look out for yourself and you got to try to make yourself the best that you can be, because there's only a limited time that you're going to be able to do this. This isn't a job that you can have for 60 years. This is, this is a job. Hopefully you can have it for 10 at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's an opportunity, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how Dana puts it. But I'm just saying, like, would you think that I'd be wrong? If from the coach's perspective, from the owner of the gym's perspective.
See that's a different position because I mean I can hypothetically put myself there, but I haven't been there. I think with my personality, the way I look about it, I wouldn't be upset because the way you look at it, and I guess we have to address the fact of how did this coach leave the gym? Was it under good circumstances? Was it under a negative thing? Did he let them know his intentions at first? Because, I mean, if it's something to where a coach is there and they're behind the scenes, whispering to guys, hey, what if I opened a gym? Would you come with me? That's a little shady. I don't know how I feel about that, and I'll just be honest. But if it's something to where on day one they said, hey, thank you for this opportunity to coach and giving me a room to build my skills at, but, yeah, ultimately my goal is to ultimately own a gym one day. I want to have my space. And if that coach understands that and still allows them to work there, then there's nothing wrong happening there. So I guess in that scenario, I would look at it as a branching out. I mean, how many guys you watch a random guy from X gym and they go, oh yeah, he's a so-and-so black belt who's a Matt Serra black belt. Oh, that's a Renzo Gracie black belt. That's lineage. And if you look at it around it that way and you say, well, I had 5 really good guys and they all branched out and opened 5 really good gyms, that's a hell of a lineage. And if you can look at it from that way, I think it's a good thing to watch people grow. Almost like, watching your children grow. You can teach them all you can teach them, but one day they're going to get in that car and drive because they're going to have a license and there's nothing that you're going to be able to do.
Yeah, dude. One of the things that you had said, this was off camera again too, where you see all these other big name gyms start to branch off and open up different.
Oh yeah.
Different gyms. Like you have the one that I'm thinking of right now is Rufus Sport. And you have Nate Ginnerman up there running Rufus Sports Sheboygan, which is the same gym. They can still cross train with each other. They still have the great relationship, and it's still the same. Teaching, I guess it's different because it's different guys. But he's learned from Duke Rufus himself too. So it's, but there's plenty of other gyms, like American Top Team has done it too. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head all the other gyms that have done it, but they do have those different branches that they do allow to exist. And I feel like the ones that do that are the ones that are the most, I guess, not necessarily the most, because I don't necessarily know firsthand because I'm not at these gyms, but it seems, just from my perspective, they must have been pretty involved as a coach being the owner, because let's say, I'm just going to use myself in Valhalla Combat Sports as an example, because I don't see myself as a coach. I'm not a coach and all that, but I know a lot about fighting, and I know I can show some stuff. It's just not what I want to do right now. But one day, my head coach, James Clark, is going to be done with the game and is going to walk away from it. And I would love for the gym to stay open. And if somebody needs to step up and keep it open, I would definitely be willing to do it, and to keep that name going. And Jim has been an involved coach from the very beginning. I've trained with him, sparred with him, worked with him. He's been coaching me, sitting there as I'm rolling, coaching me, rolling with other teammates, coaching them against me, and all of those things. I'm used to hearing his voice. We've talked hours and hours for years and years outside of the gym, and we just have this really good personal relationship. I'm loyal to this man.
Yeah.
Now, if he wanted to step away, I think the loyalty that I have for him is not necessarily that I want to go open up Damian Hill's School of Martial Arts and show and start showing everything that James Clark showed me, because that's ultimately what I would be doing if I did open up my own gym. But continuing Valhalla Combat Sports 1 or 2, or changing the city, whatever it is, but continuing the name that he created, and then I'm still taking on my own new students, my own people, developing my own fighters and all of that stuff, but I'm continuing to show my loyalty with him. And when other coaches, I guess, when they leave the gyms and stuff and they want to start their own gym, it's not necessarily that they're not loyal to the gym that they were working at before, and I want to refer to it as the word working at, because they have their own ambitions. Like,
yeah, 100%.
How many fighters are training partners for other fighters, but you think that training partner doesn't want to be world champion himself? Like, it's pretty selfish to assume that somebody's just here to work for you the whole time. But that's how I would go about it if me being in a situation that I'm in with Jim, but not everybody has that same type of situation.
Oh no, 100%. And I feel like I'm on that same wavelength as you. I agree with what you're saying. I can almost guarantee you someone is watching this right now and they couldn't disagree more. What I mean, there's people that think different ways, but the way I look at it, and like you said, it's how it's how you do it. And if you want to do it differently, that doesn't mean it's a disrespectful thing. Going back to the example I used earlier, just of kids. I mean, there's some people out there that when they have a child, they want to name that child after themselves. They want to name that kid the same, Thomas Jr. And then there's other people that go, this person has they're their own person. I'm gonna call him Jim. You know what I mean? Just you call them what they want. And so opening your own gym and calling it something else doesn't mean that it's a disrespectful thing. It can be the same lineage, but it's just, it just has a little flair to it, put a little pepper and seasoning on it. But I mean, like I said, I feel like this is a very broad scenario, broad situation, and there's so much X factors that go into it. But I mean, you mentioned, we trained at the same place. You mentioned Jim. Jim, luckily he was the owner of the gym. So like I said, that's another case where it's the gym and it's synonymous. It's just the same thing. But if he went and joined forces with somebody else and they opened a bigger gym, I would follow. And that means leaving this gym. That gym might not exist the same anymore. It might follow. But so, I think it's, you find your coach, you find someone that you can relate with, like you said, you can talk to outside of the gym, you have a personal relationship with, because that's an X factor. I want someone at my corner, especially going into a fight, that type of scenario. I want someone that truly knows me and they're going to tell me what I need to hear at that moment in time. That might not be what everybody needs to hear. Some people need to hear, hey, good job. But you might need to tell me, hey, get the fuck up and go. And like, that might be the right thing. And you're only going to know that if you have that relationship.
Dude, one of the best things that was said throughout this entire video, I think, I guess even off camera, what's your analogy with the recipe? Because it goes in, I'm just going to go more into it, I guess. But when you have the right recipe, when everything's connected, when you have the right facility, the right coaches, the right training partner, the right equipment, right manager, all of those things, and it works perfect. Like that's fucking great, but let's refer to it as a cake. Those are all the ingredients to make your cake. Well, there's other ways to make a cake too. You don't need all of those same ingredients and you can still end up with the well-finished product, a good tasting cake. Now, and that's where you start to look into what are the extras, I guess. You know what I mean? Like the chocolate chips, the sprinkles, the flavored frosting and things like that. Maybe those aren't necessarily needed to get the same finished product that you would have gotten, maybe certain things do represent the least important ingredients, like the sprinkles or the cherry on top. Yes, it might look good, but you don't necessarily need it. What you need is the main ingredients. You need the flours, you need the milk, you need the eggs, you need the vegetable oil, and you get that combination, whatever you feel like represents that. And now you got a great tasting cake, and you can go out there and perform. And it's all about finding that. Like, if the facility seems like it sprinkles to you and the coach that you have seems like the main ingredient, the flour, the milk, the vegetable oil, and the eggs, then you might need to follow that coach. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. And I'm just saying, determine for yourself, because maybe that coach is the fucking sprinkles or the cherry on top. Maybe it looks good. Maybe he has a cool name. but it's not necessarily what makes you the fighter that you are. And and that's where your loyalty should lie.
Oh, dude, I love the way you turned that, because literally when you started talking about cake, and we might have had this conversation before, I think, so maybe that's why it popped into my head and we were on the exact same wavelength, but I instantly started thinking, what if you have the cake, but what if you want frosting? And when you made that turn, dude, oh man, I think the fans seen me lose my shit. I was so excited, because that's exactly how it is. Some people they'll eat a dry cake. They don't want frosting. They don't want sprinkles. Do what tastes right for you. And that, just going off what you said, you have to find your taste, and it's finding what's right for you. And that doesn't always mean what's right for the next person. So do what's right. Find your cake, eat it too after weigh-ins, and get it done.
I'm hungry as fuck, and I like that, what you said. That was funny as hell. Now, people watching this video, like this video, subscribe to Trash Talk with Damien and TJ. Don't be a hoe.
Yeah.
Also, hit us up for some fan questions. If you guys want to know our opinion on anything, do not hesitate to ask. We will gladly share it with you, no matter how stupid and redundant we sound or look or whatever. Yeah, we got you, homie. Hit us up.